everybody and welcome to today's video. So this is episode 2B of repotting lithops using a mineral based mix. If you haven't seen episode 2A, this is a separate video. So I'm going to start with this double-headed lithops here for the demonstration. So it's got some hard old leaves there to come away, and the roots need tidying up and the old soil needs to be loosened off. So I've chosen a terracotta pot. So these are the ones you see quite a lot in my videos. These are terracotta clay. I drill the hole in the bottom myself because they only come without holes. Okay, so first of all you want to make sure that you hold your lithops carefully. This is very dry and brittle, so it's flaking off really easily. So there won't be a lot of root pruning in this case, because actually where it's been taken out of its pot, it's had a lot of roots damaged during the removal. So these will happily grow back again. And what happens with lithops is they send off loads of thin fibrous roots off of the main actual root stem. So it doesn't matter to root prune them, and it's actually good for them because it creates a nice healthy root system. So we're going to try and break off these pieces. So any pieces that you can break off with just your fingers, and just do that. You might need to get in there with some very fine scissors. And these bits here that you see, these long bits in between, are the old bits of flower stalk. So eventually they do go brittle and dry. You see they're quite resilient to being pulled at and don't really want to come out. And once you start removing it all, it looks better already. And then I'll just do the other side. So I'll get in between there with some scissors because I don't want to pull apart these lithops if I can help it. So you can see they're part of one root system there. And cutting those dead pieces away. So that's now ready to be potted up. So the next thing I need to do is cut a square of mesh for my pots, and then just pop that into the pot. The repotting of these lithops plants has been done in January 2021, and I've uploaded the video in mid-February 2021, but lithops plants can be repotted up to and before the month of May. In May is when they start to resume their growth, so it's best to leave them alone during that time. The gravel or your top dressing stabilises your cactus or succulent in its pot, so it stops it from wobbling, you see. It's really good sometimes to put a nice top dressing on there to help hold it in position, and you can reposition your plant and wiggle it around and make sure it's centred and where you want it. So that one's done. So that will just sit there now and rest and continue to grow inside until about May, when I will start to think about giving it its first water. So I've chosen 2 more terracotta pots here to do the rest of the lithops. So I'm going to be planting them separately. This one's going to go on its own, this one's going on its own, and then these are going together here. And these are the nice tall pots, so that will accommodate the long growing root. And you might notice they don't have any holes. So I will be putting holes into them before I use them, and I'll just show you quickly how I do that. So that's a 10mm hole in there. And I've already just prepared the other 2 pots for those other lithops, and then we can finish repotting now. So I'm removing as much soil as I can and all the dead leaves, and it's best to do this before you repot your lithops. Gives you a chance to check the health of the plant and for any bugs, but I did check all of these when I'd initially unboxed them and they seem to be bug and pest free, and they are very dry. So here you can see I've put the mesh in the pot, and for those eagle-eyed viewers, you'll remember from the previous video that this is my current cactus and succulent potting mix that I'm using, and the very porous Kayadama as the top dressing. So onto this clump of lithops here, which is rather congested and full of debris. And look at it afterwards, so much better and already looks healthier. I just want to quickly show you this one, because this was the one that I think's got the worst leaves crusted onto it. So when they're actually growing in their natural environment, you have to keep in mind that they're in exposed locations. So these leaves wouldn't actually stay on these lithops for the length of time they would stay on the plant grown in cultivation. So they would naturally crisp away and dry up and blow off and get blown around and release themselves away from the plant a lot quicker than they would in our homes and in our greenhouses. So it is beneficial to remove these crusty leaves, because over time it can cause some problems. So it's best to remove them, because you can see it really does cover up the lithops. It's quite hard to remove some of them once they get quite stiff. So for those of you who are new to growing lithops, or this is your first time at having a go at repotting your lithops, you need to remember, once you've finished repotting, at this time of the year you don't need to be giving them any more water, so they will continue to shrivel, and you'll notice their outer leaves will shrivel and get wrinkly, and this is completely normal, and they will split open and reveal their new set of leaves. So hopefully by about May, or depending on the weather, it could be June, and sometimes even July, where I've had a lithops quite delayed in its shedding process. So by that time you can resume watering once their old leaves are fully dried up and their new leaves have settled in. So here's a tip for you when you are applying top dressing to a lithops plant. Try not to bury the lithops too far underneath. It needs to sit slightly proud, because it's in cultivation and not growing in the wild. So here they all are finished and looking fantastic. So these are going to be grown exclusively underneath my foldable LED grow lights, and they'll be kept indoors across the entire year. So it will be a good test for my grow lights to see how these lithops perform compared to my others which sit in my windowsill. So I've seen a few videos on YouTube about people growing lithops under grow lights alone, and they have good results. So I'm hoping that that will happen with mine too. Thank you for watching. Bye.